Is it just me, or does anyone else consider the Chase Freedom cards to be wonky? I'm not saying that you shouldn't get either of them, but the idea of holding them both at the same time offers very little value. We'll get into that shortly. I am sure that Chase has its reasoning, but I find these two cards in tandem to be missing. Naturally, I need to support my statements, but before I do so, I feel compelled to make a couple statements about the Chase Sapphire cards. Let's all agree that the Chase Sapphire Preferred is an introductory travel card, so it makes sense that it doesn't have all the bells and whistles for travel. However, if you're seeking to get into travel rewards and you don't want to shell out a ton of cash in annual fees, then this $95 card is a very good option. It allows you to convert the cash earned from the Chase Freedom cards into Chase Ultimate Rewards for booking travel via the Chase portal or transferring out to partners. Frankly, if when you're watching this video and the 80,000 point bonus offer for the Sapphire Preferred still exists, I highly recommend that you immediately apply for this card. On the flip side, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, its big sister, feels kinda dated to me coming in with a $550 annual fee. It is lacking in value as a premier travel card, especially when compared to the Capital One Venture X. However, that's a video for another day. Let's break down the two Freedom cards. Both cards offer 5% on travel when booked through the Chase Ultimate Rewards travel portal, 3% at restaurants, and 3% at drugstores. Here are how the cards differ. The Chase Freedom Unlimited offers 1.5% on everything else. This is not a bad card, but there are better no-fee options out there. Does the Citi Double Cash ring a bell? The Chase Freedom Flex offers 1% on everything else except for the following gimmicky 5% rotating quarterly category. Here's how it works. The Freedom Flex offers 5% on up to $1,500 on a category which rotates on a quarterly basis. For the available quarterly categories, you must remember to opt in or you'll miss out. Keep in mind that the available categories might not work for you. This would effectively mean that you might not gain any 5% cashback for an entire quarter. I highly recommend that Chase takes a page from Citi's book and offers up all the categories all the time and allow cardholders to choose how they wish to take advantage of the 5%. The Chase approach requires too much monitoring, which would immediately disqualify my mom from being a candidate for this card. If you don't know by now, my mom is my test subject to determine if a card setup is easy to manage. My biggest problem with the two Freedom cards are the overlapping categories of travel, dining, and drugstores. There needs to be a more compelling reason to want to hold both cards. If there were more useful predictability in the Freedom Flex, where I could set it and forget it, I would be able to recommend this card to the average Joe as a 5% card. Until Chase steps up its game and creates a real differentiator between the two cards, as well as jettison the overlap, I can no longer parrot the term Chase Trifecta. As a horse racing guy, I think a Chase Perfecta, which includes a Freedom card and a Sapphire card, is a much more appropriate term. For those unfamiliar with Perfecta, it's a horse racing term. A Perfecta refers to two horses finishing in the order of your choosing. So when you hear me using the term Chase Perfecta in lieu of Chase Trifecta, it's intentional. FYI, Trifecta is also a horse racing term. So my use of Perfecta for just two cards is pretty appropriate. Lastly, I've made it known in a previous video that I find the 524 rule to be odd. I recognize that Chase is free to make up its own rules, and they likely have significantly smarter folks than me who have created the guidance on such a rule. But I have the right to call it as I see it. And there just isn't enough transparency about this to the general consumer. The only Chase card that I currently recommend with confidence is the Sapphire Preferred. It has its place, and at $95, it's not a bad travel card. Let's be clear, I have nothing against Chase. I'm just giving you all my honest feedback. I will be the first to line up in heap praise about Chase when they revamp the Freedom and Sapphire Reserve cards. An update in the second half of this year is desperately needed, given that I can now see clear daylight between Capital One's lineup and Chase's lineup. Citi appears to have something brewing with its strata line, so Chase should avoid being the odd man out. I currently recommend Capital One's lineup of the Saver One and the Venture X on a weekly basis. And just recently, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, mostly because of the current sign-up bonus. Lastly, I would like your help in giving visibility to this channel by subscribing and sharing videos with others. This credit card rewards channel may be new, but I've been maximizing travel rewards for a while now, and therefore not new to the game. Folks, I'm in East Africa right now, and I'm executing my abroad credit card strategy on a daily basis while here. Folks on my travel channel often ask me how I finance my travel. So rather than repeat the same answer over and over, I opted to launch this rewards channel last month. Be sure to check out my travel channel to see the wonders of East Africa. Please let me know what you think of this video in the comments, and I will be sure to respond. If it sparked your interest, do subscribe and share it with others who you believe will derive value. As always, take care and be good to one another.